Yeah, thank you. I will share my screen as well. Is it coming up? No. No, I need to. Or Michael, can you share because I need to go into settings and grant access, and that will
Yes,
take
we
a
can
while.
share.
If you could share the screen.
Oh, sure. So should we go to slide 21?
Yeah, just right away to the next one. Yeah, cool. Thank you. So I have two proposals out there, which are both about the column level lineage facet. They've been discussed to some extent, iterating with Pavel as well. I will talk a bit about what this facet looks like today and what the issues are with it from my perspective. And then I will talk about the two proposals that I just mentioned. So here you see the column level lineage facet in like an instance of that, how it looks like today. So there's an output field for a given data set, that's A here, that output field, and there are multiple input fields. Um, one is shown here, IA, and there are transformation descriptions and a transformation type that are applicable to all these input fields. The transformation type itself is just a string. The description says it can be identity or masked, and potentially producers could also provide any other transformation type because it's a string. So maybe two things to call out here, and those go into those two proposals coming up. The first one is that the transformation type itself is not strongly typed, so there is no clear contract between producers and consumers, and it's actually quite important for use cases like in particular PII, but also in general impact analysis, root cause analysis for the consumer. So the data catalog most likely to know what's the type of that transformation. I'll dive into more detail of that. So one of the proposals is about making or proposing a taxonomy of types. The second point is here that transformation description and transformation type are applicable to all the input fields of a given output field. Now you can construct examples where, especially when you do SQL parsing and lineage extraction from SQL, you can construct examples where the transformation type would actually be different for a given pair of input field and output field. So one of the proposals later will show how that should be reflected in the column level lineage facet. Can you go to the next slide? So in terms of transformation types, there's like a document attached to the proposal. The link is coming up soon as well with more details. But just shortly, when we think about transformation types for a column level lineage, we want them to fulfill a few criteria. We want that there's a set of transformation types that is complete in the sense of covering all the possible transformation types that you can come up with. Those individual transformation types should be disjunct so that a producer can select unambiguously a single transformation type that is applied to that specific column-to-column transformation. Of course, those transformation types have to be unambiguous again. There shouldn't be any room for discussing those at great length because producers and consumers are developed independently, and they should really be just just be relying on the contract that's coming through the spec, and there shouldn't be any ambiguity in that. Still, transformation types should be optional because some producers might not extract these, or they might fail to extract them, so they should not be forced to set a transformation type. And in general, transformation types should still be open for extension to some extent. And the next slide is showing how that could look like. So here's the definition of a change transformation type, where the type is actually an enum, which is only identity transformed and indirect. Identity is, as it says, like an exact copy of the data. Transformed is any sort of transformation. and indirect is something like a filter or a group by or something like that. The main change here that you see to compared with the existing definition, I guess, is, well, first of all, there's now an enum, so it's like it is strongly typed, and also the masked transformation is not specifically a type here, but all transformations that change the data in any way, either masking or not, are encapsulated in the transformed type. The reason is that masking, what amounts to masking, depends on the use case. It depends on the regulatory frameworks that you as a producer, consumer, or integrator are need to follow. So so the hypothesis is that there's no unambiguous definition of what masked would be, and that would violate one of the principles I just introduced. So then we would also propose to add a transformation subtype, which allows for more extension. We also, maybe you can go to the next slide, that's easier to see. So we add a subtype, we add another field, a separate field for calling out whether it's masked, it is supposed to be a masked transformation or not. And also we would propose to move the transformation, all these fields related to the transformation itself into their own object, and then move them inwards one level of the object hierarchy to be applicable directly to the link between a single input field and a single output field, instead of being applicable to all input fields for a given output field. So that Pfau actually proposed to create this transformation object instead of continuing having transformation description, subtype, type. I like that because that will make it more easily extensible in the future. It's a lot cleaner. And Pfau also suggested that we add this masked field that wasn't there in the original proposal, to still be able to still allow producers to send this information if they wish to. And in this case, still consumers can treat this as optional, right? In PI case, in regulatory use cases, you might be trying to be very conservative in your interpretation of what you receive over the open Linux channel from different producers. Okay, so there are those two proposals out there. There are links in the slides. Please chime in if you have opinions. If there are any questions, I'm happy to discuss.
So go ahead, Ellie.
Oh no, just a question on masking. Often, when we say that something's masked, we often provide the name of the masking function. I don't know if that would have value here.
I think it actually would. I sort of had that thought as well. I'm wondering whether we should include that in the description, but maybe not. Yeah, could be useful to add additional information. Anyone has an opinion about this?
So how would you imagine adding that as part of a subtype on masking or its own property?
I think it's its own property, and it's probably a free-form name. But I mean, an organization will probably have their definitions, and it's just that, you know, some masking, some fields need a very, you know, a certain level of masking to be, you know, because masking could just be you know, swapping every third letter or whatever, and that's masking. But there are obviously much more rigorous masking that's needed for certain types of things. So I mean, it might just be you need an extra property, which is masking algorithm or something, so that so that the names of the algorithms being used in an organization can be documented.
We could also swap this is masked field into, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, Yeah, it could just be the name of the mask, and if it's blank, then it is a mask. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that it's also coming from, it seems like there's consensus on the need for this from the actual customers of, on the kind of, people building data governance solutions, data catalog. So I think this is very much, you are the right people to say this is needed, right? This is why we like having you here.
Yeah, I think it's super useful information. It's just really important not to, I mean, to recognize that, as Mandy said as well, that the masking can mean very different things, and especially can mean very different things in different use cases and different like systems as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's useful still to separate it out from the main types, but it's useful also to have that additional information available.
Yes, and I'm assuming for masking we'll mostly keep it free form and kind of, each user will, or maybe we'll try to coalesce on some naming convention, or kind of not sure what would you suggest there?
Mandy, maybe you know a bit more about this, or you seem to. Um, is there like are there any standard sets of mask definitions, types? Or?
No, that there really aren't. I mean, there are some popular masking algorithmic names. I mean, with these types of things in Nigeria, we have quite a few values that are free-form text, but we also have reference data management, so you can set up valid values for certain things that are processed on the fly. So it allows the standard to be quite open, and for an organization to then define the valid values for certain types of fields. And certainly if when we're using open lineage with Nigeria, we, for the masking algorithms, if the organization was keen on the values being very specific, then, we can use that mechanism to control the value. So that's, I'm not suggesting that you would do the same, but that's how we do it in Nigeria, is for things that often need to be controlled, but the industry doesn't supply a neat list of control values. We have this intermediary mechanism. That makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. Do you want to chime in on the GitHub issue with your proposal?
Okay. All right. Did you say the number? Oh, yeah, I see it. 218.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
But this one is, I think, maybe you need to move up. It's the other one, like on slide 23, because there were two different proposals.
All right.
I'll link both of them in the chat now.
Thank you.